Banned video games.
That's right, folks. There are video games that you would have never guessed are completely banned in certain parts of the world. Black Ops 2, anyone? That's right, folks. Censorship is, in fact, a thing in certain parts of the world, despite the fact that we have it pretty good here in the United States.
We're gonna defeat this anti-human scum! We're gonna wreck their world!
With the exception of Alex Jones. He gets censored quite a bit. With that being said, I bought video games that are banned in countries all over the world where there are people that will never, ever get a chance to play these video games.
Game 1.
Let's start off with perhaps the most recognizable banned video game I found. Black Ops 2. I bought the wrong game on eBay. Use your imagination. Black Ops 2. That's right. Pakistan thought this game was a big no-no. Basically, Pakistan banned this game on the grounds that it portrayed Pakistan in a quote-unquote bad light. That the association has always boycotted these types of films and games because they have been developed against the country's national unity and sanctity. And they went on to say that Black Ops 2 was developed against Pakistan. Thus, the association has completely banned their sale, as they believe this game to have been made as a form of psychological warfare that was an effort to malign the minds of youth against Pakistan. And this is the part where everyone in the comment section says, Tyler, I have 3 friends in Pakistan. They all play Black Ops at least 3 hours a day. No law enforcement has knocked on their doors. And let me say this. The game was still banned in Pakistan, you know, whether they enforce it or not. In fact, apparently the owner of Islamabad's largest video game store said that Black Ops 2 was a top seller and that he wasn't even aware of the ban. So that goes to show that people are selling, buying, and playing these games despite the ban existing. Illegality doesn't necessarily mean that the country will enforce this ban. Apparently Pakistan doesn't give an F.
Game 2.
Next up, we have a real zinger. I know, that's right, Mass Effect. You know, this game was banned for perhaps the most interesting reason out of them all. The country that banned Mass Effect was Singapore. Their reason to do so was, I quote, a love scene that can occur between a female human if the player has chosen their character as a woman and an alien woman.
I settle for nothing but the best.
Anyways, Singapore banned this game due to that girl-on-girl love scene. And according to my sources, Singapore is no stranger when it comes to banning some of the video game gems out there. This one's kind of lame, but I found that interesting.
Game 3.
We have a true classic, folks. Fallout 3. Good old Pip-Boy. If you watched my last video, you'll know that Australia likes to make video games illegal for some reason. With that being said, this video game was banned in Australia. There are probably a lot of potential reasons that might pop up into your head as to why this game was banned in Australia. You know, there are obvious suspects out there like the extreme amount of gore and all of that petty, run-of-the-mill nonsense, right? But the real kicker in this gem was drugs. That's right, we're talking chems. In the game, the chems, as you might know if you played the game, include syringes, you got tablets, pill bottles, a crack-type pipe, and blister packs. At the end of the day, the fact that you can use chems to basically power your character up, combined with the fact that you can get addicted to these chems, all kind of led Australia to believe that this game was encouraging drug usage among young whippersnappers out there. So they said, not today, Bethesda, it's technically banned, or at least it was in 2008.
Game 4.
We have Mark Echo's Getting Up, Contents Under Pressure, reference to spray paint. It was, of course, banned in Australia. A country that has a pretty lengthy track record of banning games as of now. Now, this game is about a graffiti artist who has taken it upon himself to go out into the streets and protest his corrupt government, not by leading a revolution, not by holding a political rally, but by the most effective method he could think of. Spray paint. A lot of it. Otherwise known as graffiti. You know, Australia thought about this for a second and said, heck, we'll give it an MA 15+ rating, right? And then they thought about it for one more second and said, nah, let's outright ban the game from existence and erase it from the face of this very country. Because the board claimed that it was giving gamers tips, tricks, and strategies on how to become a god-tier graffiti artist and, you know, vandalize their country, potentially Australia, in the process. And Atari 3, the company that made this game kind of fought back and compared the censorship of this game in Australia to how books were burned in the past. You know, Fahrenheit 451 type status. You know, but Australia, steadfast in their censorship, said they wouldn't allow a game to exist and to be put in the hands of the impressionable youngsters. They thought this was a quote-unquote instruction manual for criminal activity.
Game 5.
Next up, my old chump, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare 2. Now, this game was banned in a country you haven't really thought of when you thought of censorship until now. That's right, Mexico. In the Mexican state of Chihuahua in 2007, the game was straight up banned and the existing copies were no joke. They were confiscated due to the offensive depiction of the region in the game where Mexican rebels kidnapped the US president in the game.
We have reports of rebel ADAs. We need those cleared before we can get the president into the air.
The mayor even went on to say that the game violently portrayed his own beloved citizens, and this game was toast in Mexico after that. Censorship, man, I tell ya.
Game 6.
Next up, we got Medal of Honor, where you, the player, fight terrorists here and there. And this game was banned, interestingly enough, on US military bases. Because in the in-game multiplayer mode, apparently you could play as Taliban. So eventually, the developers just said, heck, this isn't worth it. So they removed the option to play as Taliban. But the ban, to this day, still remains in US military bases.
Game 7.
I actually forgot to buy this game, so we're going to use Skyrim VR in its place. This unnamed game has to do with China. And in China, there's apparently a law that prohibits the distribution of video games that hurts China's national dignity and interest. With that being said, the game Command & Conquer fit the bill just right. Now, Command & Conquer, as some of you might know, is a strategy game. I've never played it. And it was outlawed in China for, quote-unquote, smearing the image of China and the Chinese army. Whatever that means exactly, right? Now, while smearing is a pretty vague term in my opinion, generally anything that is seen to undermine or make a mockery of China's national reputation and sovereignty will be banned in China. These are straight up facts, folks. While this game, Command & Conquer, looks like a nice, intellectually stimulating strategy game for the youngsters out there, heck, those Chinese youngsters, never gonna get to play it. And in that game, to give you some more context, it features like 3 main groups, okay? You have the US, you have China, and then you have a terrorist rebel group called the Global Liberation Army. So China just didn't appreciate the way their national image was conveyed in this game, and they said, adios, fool.
Game 7.
Next, we have a real hit of nostalgia for me, folks. That's right, Pokemon Go. Now, the more I think about this game and what I witnessed when I played this game, I think I can understand why certain countries banned this game, given certain circumstances, okay? To name a few countries that have banned Pokemon Go, you got Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, and Egypt. And in Saudi Arabia, their reason was pretty simple. They thought Pokemon Go was a form of gambling, and they believe it to be a major cause of polytheism. And as with all Pokemon games, they viewed good old Pokemon Go as anti-Islamic. Bali, on the other hand, said that the game was so distracting that it was getting in the way of the productivity and the efficiency of the government officials that worked in Bali. Basically, it was taking away from their ability to do their job. So the government said, not today, fools. So the government banned the game. Now, Iran's reason probably makes the most sense to me. Basically, in Pokemon Go, you have various Pokestops and gyms, right? And in Iran, there happen to be gyms and Pokestops straight in the middle of active combat zones where war was taking place. Basically, people trying to catch a Pikachu could straight up die trying to do so because of the arbitrarily chosen locations for these Pokestops and gyms that happen to be super dangerous. And Egypt basically compares Pokemon Go to illegally drinking alcohol. They also view it as a distraction from the duties and responsibilities of their people, so banned, adios. And Turkey said that people were playing the game, Pokemon Go, they were going on a fun little adventure, and they would start battling in front of a mosque or a Pokestop in front of a mosque instead of worshiping Islam. It just didn't mix very well.
The final game.
Last but not least, I have here the Guy game. And for those of you who saw my I bought illegal video games, I really explained this in depth, but because this game finally came in and I have a physical copy, not really though, actually just a duplicate cover art because I don't want my hands on anything that has to do with this game. to be honest. This game was straight up banned and illegalized because a 17-year-old somehow got mixed up in this game and, you know, flashed the chest on camera, and then they went on to sell a bunch of copies of this game, which in turn was basically, you know, just selling child... I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get demonetized, but you get the picture. Big no-no. They got finessed by a 17-year-old, and to this day, this game is basically a showcase for naked chicks if you get the trivia questions correctly. But yeah, this game, you basically just play trivia, and if you answer the questions correctly, the girls flash their watermelons. So that's pretty straightforward. And the game's kind of expensive. This cost me like 20 bucks, I think, this duplicate. All I wanted was the duplicate, you know, I just wanted the visual prop, and I just didn't really want to own the actual physical copy, but here it is. Only the best for the gamers out there. If you bought this game when it came out, I'm not here to judge, but interesting choice of video games, I must say. And with that being said, guys, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, you know, minus this, which actually doesn't have a game inside of it. But if you want one of these games, here's what you gotta do, folks. First of all, just subscribe to the channel. Secondly, go follow me on Instagram at Tyler Oliveira Official. Thirdly, go follow me on Twitter at Tyler_Oliveira_. Once you've done all those things, DM me on Instagram saying the name of the game you want, and then DM or tweet at me on Twitter as well saying the name of the game you want, and I'm gonna pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of you to get these games. So subscribe, follow me on Insta, follow me on Twitter, you get the gist. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Deuces.
There you go. Look at you, big guy. Like a big kid. Oh my god. What is going on?